sir. He's gonna be here. He knows. I talked to him.
According to my watch, I got all 5 more minutes.
I heard, probably told her to talk to him this morning, and there was one question I couldn't find on the agenda. As soon as I hung up, then I found it on the agenda, but it was on the road, and I said,
Oh.
so I thought I'd catch it here.
You said there's 3 concerns you had.
Well, it was,
we talked about it.
yeah, there was questions, not concerns.
Oh.
This is the one that I couldn't find. I was sitting with, going through this with one hand and talking on the phone with the other. But, it's this,
Custom Sae Barn?
yeah, on the cash fund balances, it's a, civic center bond, apparently.
Good, how are you?
That shows that we had, somebody's gotta have their eyes roll up in the next question. Hey, John?
Yeah.
I remembered the third question I was gonna ask.
Carolyn said
And
Cassie's
John
coming.
just answered it, and Karen thought it was an error.
Okay.
So,
No problem.
just in 30 seconds, it was all clear.
Did you just call him Simple?
That's
Simple. Oh, simple.
That's what we like. The ones this morning were pretty simple. Just need to get more data.
Yeah, well, I'm glad of that at least, but fortunately, since then, my other one was a typo, and I've got a correction here somewhere.
Good deal.
It was, yeah, because it was a big number.
Try to keep those to the penny.
Absolutely.
Well, and that's what the reason we haven't talked about it.
We can't just change it.
Good, how are you?
Yeah.
I have to stop at student. Oh my God. Perfect. I needed it.
Yeah. All together up here.
Good. I went on like a little bit normal. How are you? Feel so good. Hi. Hi. Yeah, that's what I said too.
Which is my mama.
No, we're still learning now. Yes.
You can pull Cindy's chair out. Your daughter and I go back Friday if you want. Actually, I got my job.
I can move down this morning.
Everybody's under readjust.
What did I get all 8s for the revision?
Okay, I need to count down.
meeting to order, please, and thank you for coming. Stand please for the Pledge of Allegiance. Peter, would you lead us in the pledge?
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. At this time, we would entertain a motion, unless there's some discussion, to adopt the agenda as presented.
I'll make the motion to adopt the agenda as presented.
Any discussion? Second? All in favor? Aye. Thank you. Item 5, public hearing. So I would entertain a motion, please, to open the public hearing.
So move.
I'll make a motion to open the public hearing.
Oh, you did.
Seconded.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you. Mr. Livingston.
Okay. So the reason we have these public hearings before we have a budget amendment approved is so we can get any feedback that might be concerned about our budget, our operating budget. We've got all our classroom site funds, our main operating budget, Fund 001, our capital budget. We've got all our grants. It's all summarized in these little documents that we have here. Would anyone want some specific information at this moment? If so, I can mention it. I'm just going to mention a few particular numbers, and if there's anything you'd like me to address in particular, I'll mention that too. Okay, so to keep this real straight, real simple, we've got about 175 factors that go into our operating budget, everything from student counts to last year's ending cash balance that rolls forward to the amount of money we get for textbooks, buses, and any other capital items. And it really comes down to what we can do comes down to how close we are correlated with this one little sheet the State Department of Education School Finance Unit puts together. And it's called a Budget 25 report. And they simply look at those 175 factors. There's page 1, there's page 2, and as long as our budgets meet what they call the optimized budget potential in capital fund, that's $1,008,867. In our operating fund, it's $14,512,446, so 14.5 million. As long as all of our factors point to that number, and then when we upload the budget, that number is in our budget for capital and operations, and the other budgets are not quite so concerned about. I think Ms. Daniels here can testify that her numbers and her budgets are scrutinized even more than the budget of the operating fund, would you say? So we're not getting off easy just with these two budgets. She works constantly with all the sites to make that happen. But this budget is primarily a reflection of this page 1 and page 2, and those are our numbers. Our deadline to do this is May 15th. So I like to do a July adoption for the year, a December revision if necessary, a March or April, and then if we really need to do one in May, we know exactly what little difference we have. And this is a difference column. This is all we do. We eliminate the differences. I was going over that with Mr. Atona today. You see in our amount was $430,688, and that was based on our distance learning percentage. So I worked with Kathleen really closely and all the sites, and thank you so much for all your data. We had these numbers nailed down the 25th of March. And so we knew our differences to the penny back then, and I had to run these two new reports for me. So when we approve this, it's not really adoption, it's just approve it, we'll be right on to the penny with our fund balances and our allocations and our awards and our expenditure limits and our revenue control limits that the state has for our population, already adjusted for some students that stayed at home. So that's really what it comes down to. Any questions?
Any questions from the public on this hearing? Entertain a motion, please, to close the public hearing.
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
All in favor? Thank you. Item 6A, Yavapai County Education Foundation grant update. Dominique Arias.
Hello, thank you for having me. I'm Dominique Arias from Tech. I'm a kindergarten teacher, and I applied for a grant through Yavapai County Education Foundation for chair pockets for the back of my students' chairs. Due to COVID, we couldn't have community supplies like we usually do. So the chair pockets allowed me to be able to differentiate student tools or crayons, pencils, and all things like that, so they could keep their germs to themselves. And I'm grateful for that. And Ms. Cox signed off for me, and we've been using that, and it's been successful. That's it.
If you didn't have this, how would you have done it?
We just do like community supplies, so we just put it on the table and they share it, which is good for them because they learn how to share. But this is also good to learn how to keep the germs to themselves. So. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Arias.
We have two people here from the foundation who came to support.
Thank you, Madam Chair and Superintendent Scholl. I'm Mike Elligood. I'm the current president of the Yavapai County Education Foundation. And it's good to be back. I feel like we have a kind of a subscription here. Every year we come up and we're delighted that we're able to support you. With me here today is a colleague, Selena Bliss. And I asked her to come today because we're starting something new this year. As you're probably aware, we stopped doing the Teacher of the Year program. And we did that for a variety of reasons, funding being primarily a very expensive thing to do, and it was one shot in the dark and it went away. We decided to emphasize our core mission of supporting teachers. But we also wanted to recognize educators throughout the Yavapai County schools. And Selena put together this program to recognize educators in every one of our 102 campuses throughout Yavapai County. And I know you all participated. And the end product of that will be a journal published by professional newspapers. It'll be delivered to every school district, every school foundation, with a picture of the educator of the year. And we didn't care, by the way, was a teacher or a school bus driver, as long as that person had made some contribution to the success of the school. So this is the program manager, and Lynn, you want to say a few words?
Yeah, just thank you for this opportunity. I'm new to the board. I've got some big shoes to fill. My mom taught at the school in 1971 through the late 70s and then was at Dexter Elementary. Dad taught at Yavapai College for 27 years, and I'm going on my 26th year at Yavapai. Point being is I understand how important it is at the early years to capture our kids, educate them, and it does take a team, a village to raise a child, if you will. So we're expanding our program. That's why the tribute to educators. We're sorry about the individual awards, but we're hoping to capture a wider audience and make a larger effect, and also share with the community, the non-educators, what we're doing here in Yavapai County. So really pleased to be here and happy about what's going on and excited to mark your calendar. The last Monday of April is when this will come out. It'll be with the Chino Valley Review as well. So thank you for having us.
Thank you.
And I was supposed to take pictures, but now how am I supposed to do this if you're here?
And everybody's got a mask on.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you for your good work.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Could I ask a question?
Yes.
We have a question here.
I have a question.
Could I ask a question if I could?
Sure, Peter.
Is the process for submitting nominations for the teacher recognition program basically the same as the old Teacher of the Year program that was held every year, or is this going to be a different process for the submissions?
Well, I can speak how we did it this time. The word went out to the various schools and districts, and they picked individuals within their programs and their districts who to nominate. So it was done internally. I can't speak to how it used to be because I've only been on this board a year.
Well, there used to be a big panel, and we had reviews and all this kind of stuff, and interviews, and it was a very complex mess, really. And I think your assistant superintendent here, who ran that program very successfully for many years, can tell you what a complex operation it was. We decided to turn this around. We said the schools, campuses that know who the people are that deserve recognition. And we simply left it up to them. Any criteria you want.
So each district may choose their own criteria, is what you're saying?
Each school.
Or each school within the district?
We left
Within
it to
the
the
district.
schools, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Left it to the schools. And quite honestly, we had some schools, I think Crown King, that said basically there's only one of us and we only got 1 or 2 students, so thanks, but we don't need that. Most of the schools, I think we had 80.
Out of the 90-some, I think only 2 that didn't submit a name, so we're pleased about the response.
So we'll see how it goes. I would really, you know, Mike and I are colleagues on a different thing, and we can talk informally. And Peter, I think you and I are the same profession. You were the engineer for Phoenix, weren't you?
Yeah.
I was the engineer for the county.
Right.
So, you know, so we're all collegial here. You all can give us a very frank evaluation of how this program worked from your perspective, and we'll refine it for next year.
Yeah, this is new. COVID just upset everything, so we thought, well, we'll just start over from scratch, and we're anxious to hear how the feedback, if you will, so we can plan again for next year.
But thanks for this opportunity. And one other thing, the classroom grant program has been so successful, and we were able to get a little bit more money this year. We're having another spring episode of it. So we'll have 2 a year, we hope. Hoping to keep this up. Anyway, thanks a lot.
Thanks for the time.
Thank you for coming. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Item 6B, the Cvhs Student Council Report. This will be presented by Emery Rock.
Hi, I'm Emily Rock. I'm the student body president here at Chino High School, and I was asked to come and kind of give an overview of what we've done so far this year. Our first thing that we did this year was called Extravaganza. Usually we do Christmas candy kilograms, but since we weren't here, we couldn't do that. So the freshmen are in charge of this, and they got to plan this, and we got to see them be able to plan their first event, which was pretty cool. But they decided to do like an Easter egg hunt kind of thing, where they hid 5 eggs each lunch, and they had hints in them, and it would lead them to the next egg, and it would have a letter in it, and they had to spell out Easter. And there was a winner for 4th lunch and for 5th lunch, and so we had 2 winners, and they both got $50 Visa gift cards. So that was pretty cool. Our up-and-coming events for May, our big one is Prom. We got that approved and passed, so we're able to do Prom. Our venue is Prescott Vibes. It's over by the airport. And our DJ is Living Energy. The theme is Sleepy Hollow. One of our juniors is planning it, Sabrina Lopez. And they capped the amount of people there for 350, including chaperones and teachers there. And we did a senior pre-sale so that seniors could have the opportunity to buy their tickets first, since it's kind of senior prom. And we've gotten a few of the money for tickets donated by the Chino Valley Education Foundation. So kids that can't afford tickets but want to go, that are seniors and juniors, we're allowing them to come with tickets that we're donating. And that day is May 8th from 8 p.m. to 12 p.m. Some more activities are senior trip. As a senior class, we decided that we were going to go to Sunsplash in Mesa on May 13th, and it's $30 a ticket for kids, so kids will pay that. And we've also gotten money donated for kids that can't pay that $30, but that they would like to go, and we're asking Site Council in the next little bit to help donate buses, so that kids don't have to pay extra to cover the cost of buses. We just got in our senior t-shirts. They were a really big hit. Everyone loved them. We got to do the 21 picture out on the football field last Thursday, so that was pretty cool. After prom, we do this thing called MORP, and it's prom spelled backwards, and it's for the sophomores and freshmen. And they decided to do a color powder dance, which we've done in the past, and it's just kind of become a tradition. We do it on the outside patio at the cafeteria, and they capped it at 300. And we're opening up that whole patio so there's more space. There'll be 12 chaperones, we're hoping, and that'll be May 13th, right after senior trip, the night of senior trip, from 6 to 9 p.m. And then towards the end of the year, we have our Memories and Talent Show where we do our memories video and a recap of the year, and we have our talent show. We're hoping we can get that in the gym. If not, we're going to do it on the football field, and that's May 20th. And then senior barbecue and field day. The seniors just get to spend a day out on the field, and we have activities and just for them to do to spend the day, just as a last senior gather. And that's on May 20th, or May 24th, or the 25th, depending on when we do the senior walk, when we walk in our up and downs around the other schools, which will either be May 24th or 25th. But that's pretty much just what we've been working on lately. Is there any questions?
Questions? Sounds pretty busy.
Yeah. Thank you.
Item 6C, CTE update, Brian Ferreira.
Hello, Madam President and all board members. Just wanted to talk briefly about our career and technical education program at the Chino Valley High School. I know you guys are all pretty aware of what we have and what's going on with it, but just want to elaborate a little bit and give some details with it all. First off, career and technical education, if you're not familiar with what it is, are your old school vocational wood shops coming to life with real purpose these days. We've got 18 different programs, 17 different programs available to all of our Chino Valley High School students. We have 8 full programs available on our campus and another 10 programs available at Yavapai College. Each year with each of our graduating class, the number's always been right around 80% of our high school graduates have taken at least 1 year of a CTE course, and then about 65% of them have taken at least 2 years of a career and technical education course. Now, the thing that really differentiates what the CTE classes are now versus what they may have been when I was a kid, or maybe when some of you guys were kids, was now they've got a lot of technical standards tied to them. Meaning they're having to teach science behind them, they're having to teach safety behind them, they're having to teach the kids professional employment skills behind them as well. So they're trying to develop the kids as a well-rounded future employee for the workforce. Whether they're going to go directly into the workforce or if they want to take their new knowledge and pursue that education further in college. So those are the 2 paths that we're really working with the kids. I'm going to give you guys, it's basically all the programs that we have listed for the district. I'll have everyone here for Ms. Thomas. You can kind of take a look through those things. Those are kind of our new created advertisement flyers, and it just basically gives all the rundowns about what kids can experience in the classroom, what they can expect, different careers they can develop into to kind of help draw the kids into this as well. One of the great things about CTE is there's a lot of grants available for it. So right now, career and technical education, they really rely heavily on the schools developing lab space and instructional spaces that have real-time, recent technology, software, equipment, tools, and really rely on us making sure the kids have a real experience with that. So that could be very, very costly. And so we work with 4 different grants to help fund for all of those things. The 4 grants help to pay for salaries, travel for the kids for competition or leadership events, help to pay for equipment. We pay for certifications for the kids to take a certification at the end of the program to make sure they're getting something that's employable for them. And one of the most awesome things that we're able to do is do facility upgrades. So we're able to invest into the building itself, as long as it is specific towards the CTE program to help develop it and make sure it's a standard of the industry. So when the kids go in there, it mimics an industry location the best that it possibly can. One of our things we got coming.
Yeah, so we're wanting to build an Sae Barn, as Mr. Preda said. Sae, if you're not familiar with ag education, is supervised agricultural experience. This is the things that students are doing outside of the class time that is related to agriculture. So this barn, our vision is where kids could raise animals. They might live in an HOA, they might live in an apartment. You know, you can't raise a steer in an apartment, right? So they would be able to use this facility to raise their animal on site. I would be supervising it. They would take care of it, do everything that is needed to raise a steer or goat or sheep, whatever they want to raise. But they would have the facilities to use at our location. And then the agricultural mechanics barn that Mr. Prey was talking about would be used to service our equipment. I teach an ag mechanics class currently. We would, be able to go through our equipment, change oil, fix, repair, whatever we need to do in that facility over there. So that's kind of our vision for those facilities.
And, just to kind of reiterate what Mr. Holder said, you have a lot of kids in the community who really enjoy that kind of stuff, but they just don't have the means in their own home. Maybe they do have property, but they're not able to have livestock or animals that they're to raise, and they really want this opportunity. So through the barn, it opens that up for them, so they now have this opportunity to raise animal there. And especially if they have a real interest in agriculture, which is the purpose behind the agriculture education, is to develop more agriculture stewards for the country, really, not just for the state of Arizona, or not just for our community, but to develop that area. And we believe that, I'm sure many of you would agree that we have a community that's probably very rich in agriculture backgrounds and a lot of history with it. So we're hoping to really use that to maximize that and really bring back agriculture education here and really just capitalize with our FFA programming. So it's real excitement with that. Another thing to touch on briefly, spoke just kind of about the agricultural history here in the area. As you guys are all probably familiar with the Chino Valley Historical Society. So one of the things, and this is I think in the consent agenda, is the approval of an IGA with the Chino Valley Historical Society. And basically it's given them access to a portion of our farm to be able to come over there, help to restore a couple of the buildings. They've got great plans. Hopefully someday it'll really be able to come to fruition. But they've got great plans to restore a few of the buildings that we have and really develop kind of a living history museum within there. There's a lot of great equipment in there. Some of the facilities are really beautiful. So it's a lot of excitement right there, and really hoping, so we're partnering with them to create that opportunity for them to kind of enrich the agriculture history here in the Chino Valley area and develop that further. So would support fully the IGA to be approved with them as well. So that's, hopefully that'll be passed. The other thing I wanted to talk about just briefly, this is going to be a change of things, it's going to be a new addition to our programming for next school year, is, and I call it a career bridge. One of the things that we're going to be bringing and kind of infusing into the classrooms is exposing the kids a little bit. We talk a lot about the education behind maybe drafting and design. Maybe we talk a lot about the food science to make sure you're cooking safely for families, or maybe making sure that we're handling animals properly. So we do a lot of the education about the career fields. The next piece that we're going to be infusing next year is what I call the career bridge. The bridge to help them get into the job fields, the bridge to help them pursue college or a higher degree. And so that's going to be a combination of many presentations throughout the year about colleges, universities, technical schools, providing on-site mock interviews for the kids with business leaders, partnering, starting to develop a partnership with Goodwill. They've got a very big employment and career department for them, so they're going to be doing some job mock interviews with us. So that's exciting as well. As well as introducing the kids into how to find real careers that are relevant to these fields right there. So we'll be doing presentations with them as well to help develop their knowledge of how to get outside of Chino Valley if they wish, to find the jobs that they really are trained for, the jobs that they really are, equipped to handle. So that's going to be an exciting addition for this upcoming school year. But a lot of information, a lot of great programs in there. So for all the youth that you know in the area or parents, please share that information with them and tell them to plug it along as much as possible.
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
The barn, is this similar to what Jeremy's mom, he had kind of talked about doing some kind of barn at one time, right? Or is it totally different?
He had a lot of ideas. So he did have plans for a barn when he was the ag teacher here. Yeah, same type of deal. It was an SAE barn for these students that don't really have the facilities to raise animals where they could raise animals. And I think really that's what the Coopers wanted to see that utilized for. They, were real big supporters of ag education, and they made it so that we have to keep it a working farm, right? So they really had a servant's heart giving back to these students, and I think they would really love to see something like that.
Well, these packets are really cool, you guys.
Yeah.
They're super exciting, I think, of all the stuff that we offer. I think it's really great.
Yeah, eventually we'll have these developed with our pictures of our own kids and all that,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
for now we gotta start somewhere.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be reading this carefully.
Any other questions related to CTE?
I have a question.
Yes.
First of all, is the FFA still selling tickets?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so I still want to.
Perfect. I might have them in my truck.
You're selling tickets for a
For a beef raffle, yeah.
Beef.
Oh, well, I want some too.
Awesome.
Booster Club.
There you go.
Yeah, our Cooper Ag Center booster club.
What you can do is maybe let Karen know and she can arrange to
okay.
get it for you
Okay,
guys.
okay, because I think
Yeah.
you said I could go over to the farm, but I wasn't sure what building you go to. Okay.
See, Penny, the reason I didn't ask the question, because I was biting my tongue not to ask about churro lamb.
Oh, see, I can't see you bite your tongue between.
Oh, yeah, I know, that, all the memories with the Ag Center are good except for the churro lamb.
Oh, yeah.
Well, we've got some Suffolks over there, if that would make you happy, some Suffolks lambs now.
No, actually, I remember, because I bought it, I signed, looked at the churro lamb. Worst meat I've ever had in my life.
I thought you were biting your tongue, I didn't even.
I couldn't, I'm sorry, Penny. I was trying very hard.
Stick with beef.
Thank you, guys. Yes, I'm sorry.
Mr. Prada, I have another question too.
Yep.
Do these kids have the opportunity to do like work-study kinds of programs then? Is that presented to them?
So,
Or is that kind of an old hat kind of idea?
no, it's not. So ultimately, yes, we do have a work-study program that the kids are able to take advantage of at the high school. However, it's more so you work an X amount of hours, no matter what it is, you're gonna get a little bit of school credit with it. The Career Bridge is gonna have something to do with that. So I think that's a good segue into what I did miss, was our job shadowing pieces right there.
Oh, okay.
We are setting up a lot of job shadowing experiences with the kids so that they can get into some of these businesses and spend time observing these things. And the goal with that is for those kids to do that job shadowing. Is this the field I really want to be in? I mean, it might be an extremely small niche of the agriculture world, but there's a whole other side of it. And they may say, this side definitely is not for me. So we're hoping to develop it further where we are able to build those partnerships where they are taking our kids in for employment. But one step at a time with it all.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Oh, sorry.
Just a quick question, I'm curious. Is that barn gonna be able to house, 10 animals or 100 animals?
Good question. They'll be able to house 16 steers, so you can pretty much double that for sheep. So there'll be 16 12 by 12 stalls. 12 by 12 stalls, plenty big enough for a steer to live in. And then for sheep or goats, you could double limit that for that size of stall.
Excellent.
Thank you. All right, thank you.
Good news. Item 6D, Superintendent's Report. Mr. Scholl, please.
There is a summary at your seat of the Superintendent Report. A couple things, or I guess several. Enrollment. As of yesterday, the district's 100th day was 2,060 and a little over a half, 0.65. This is down just under 153 ADM compared to last year's 100th day, and our 100th day was March 2nd. So these are numbers that ultimately John will have to put into the budget to create the numbers that he was talking about earlier, but we are down. I was at Heritage this afternoon, and what we're experiencing, at least at Heritage and I think at other schools, kids are starting to trickle back. We've been getting kids back from other charter schools in the area, from online schools that just, now that we're in person, families are deciding to send their kids back to school, and we're seeing that trickle effect coming in. We don't get credit for those kids this year, but it's important that we keep them so that we have those kids when we start day one in August. So that's a good sign. I'm thankful for that. I'm thankful that families are having trust in us and bringing those kids back to us. And so that's a good feeling, and I appreciate that. Any questions on enrollment? Esser update. If you're not familiar with Esser, this is the elementary and secondary school emergency relief fund. Esser fund. We have 3 Essers. There was the original Esser. It's now called Esser 1. Then we had Esser 2, and then now we have Esser 3. So Esser 1 was something that happened, it was last summer, maybe a little bit earlier than that, last spring. Esser 1 was a fund with the CARES Act. If you've heard of the CARES Act, it was part of the CARES Act, where schools got money to help them with COVID-related items. For us, we got just over $436,000. What we did with it was we bought some Chrome devices, Chromebooks. We also paid for Edgenuity, which is the online distance learning program that we use for high school and middle school kids. We also purchased Chrome tablets that we handed out, and accessories like a tripod and microphones and some other things that we handed out to our staff members to help them with distance learning and when we were in distance learning. And we also bought a school bus with the money. So Esser 1 is pretty much spent, and if it hasn't been spent already, things have already been ordered. Like the bus takes a while, so it's been ordered. We have until December of 2022 to spend that money. So it's not an issue to be able to spend that. It's been identified what we're going to spend it on. Just a matter of ordering, getting things in. Most of it has been received, except for the bus is the big one. Then we have Esser 2. Our Esser 2 is what we're working on now. We found out this afternoon that it was approved. Cindy is putting all that input in, and she thought it was approved over the weekend this morning, but we heard formally that we have it approved. And it's something that, as recently as last week, I think, is when Cindy was working on it and things like that. So it's relatively new. What we are using the Esser 2 money for is a day porter for 3 years, this current year and 2 additional years. This is somebody that an additional person to help us sanitize facilities and things like that. We also are 3 years, this year and the next 2 years, with a health aide. The health aide actually is at territorial, and that freed up our nurse to come to the district office to work on COVID-related items and also general staff and student health. And so that's been very good to have her. She's been busy lately with contact tracing, and we'll talk about that during COVID update, but so that's freed her up to come to the district office and focus on more district-wide initiatives rather than taking care of the day-to-day needs of the kids at Tech where she was stationed at, and that's being handled now by the health aide. We have, this year, you authorized temporary staff to help with, it was a lot of daycare for staff, daycare for the kids. When we were in distance learning, we had to have a place for kids to come. And that was we called them CASA mentors. We had a position and we just kind of expanded that. And so that those temporary personnel will be covered out of Esser 2. We also have, I saw the nurse come out of Cindy's office talking about the health office equipment. She was so excited. So there's some vision screeners and some hearing screeners that the ones that we have now are fairly antiquated. And so this will be good for our kids. We can get our kids screened much more easy with this equipment. We have smartboards, some Chrome devices, some purchases over at least the next 3 years. We have another bus, so we're buying another bus with this money, and covering some teacher salaries. And that's what's really going to allow us to do some of the raises that we're going to talk about later, is taking those funds out of M&O by covering in Esser allows us to put money at, well, 2 things. Cover any loss of enrollment as well as help out with increases to staff's compensation. So that's Esser 2. Yes, sir. Has any thought been put into how after October 2023, those teacher salaries will be sustained? Yes. So part of the conversation that I've had with Cindy and John is we need to come up with a plan on transitioning those back into M&O eventually. In the next 3.5 years. Because we also have Esser 3 that extends through 2024. So that's part of what we need to do is transition those back. There's something, one thing that I thought about that I haven't even talked to the other two about is we're going to come off an energy savings project that's going to free up, I think, is it $125,000 or something like that?
Ballpark, yes.
$125,000 that we're spending to pay for our energy savings projects. That's a loan that will go back into M&O that we've been taking out of M&O. So that's one thing that we can do to cover some of those expenses. So that is something that has been a priority in this discussion is we need to come up with a plan on how to exit that out. And if the M&O doesn't come back to cover some of these, there may be down the road some positions that we cut due to attrition, or with attrition, not people, but empty positions that the kids don't come back and we don't need those positions. So that's definitely been a discussion. That's definitely a concern.
Good question, Mike.
And the last one, Esser 3. So we got $436,000 with Esser 1, $1.57 million with Esser 2. We are thinking between $3 and $4 million for Esser 3. Probably closer to 4 than 3. We have to spend that by October of 2024. So that gives us just over 3 years to do that. 20% has to go towards addressing learning loss. One of the big expenses that will come out of that is summer school. So summer school will be part of that 20%. Other interventions, which could be Friday school, tutoring, additional years of summer school. So there's a variety of things. The grant hasn't even opened yet. We haven't even been given our allocation officially yet. So the 3 to 4 million is an estimate based on other ones, based on the information that we know. So kind of waiting on that, but again, the only requirement is the 20% to address learning loss. That's what $600,000 to $700,000 to
John, is that from the current CARES Act?
I think it was the American Recovery Plan, or
not last year's, but the current one that Congress just
correct. That was the one that people got $1,400. Most people got $1,400 per person.
Right.
That's what this was related to that.
Okay.
I think it's
so it is a new source of federal funding.
Yeah.
Correct.
Good.
Correct.
So this might be a stupid question, but how do you assess learning loss? I mean, where you kind of would project where you think the child should be, but they're short.
Right, and so really it's trying, we have different assessments that we can do to identify where they should be, just like you say, and then address those, kind of similar to how we identify kids that go into Title I and things like that. Yes.
I presume you can also track individual kids on the performance in earlier grades versus current performance?
Oh yeah, we can do it kid by kid or cohort or school by school, all those are available.
To me, I think that would be a great way to tailor your learning loss program. Because if we have the computer ability to track that, Cindy's saying yes.
And we do that, a lot of that's done already. Because,
right, exactly.
the principals know what kids are struggling. The teachers know what kids are struggling. That's communicated to the principals. If you go to some of these, and I don't know how much they do it anymore, but it used to be all these red and yellow and green dots on the wall to figure out which kids are at grade level, which ones are struggling a little bit, which ones are well below, and all that stuff. And so that's something that they're doing at the schools all the time. Yeah. Any questions on Esser? Mike?
So John, Esser 3, $3 to $4 million, that's significant.
Yes.
One-time opportunity to spend that money.
Yes.
Any thoughts on how that might be spent?
Well, other than the 20%, which we know has to go towards learning loss, it could bring in, we had talked about bringing in additional staff that would, it's just like kind of when we bring in staff on grants, we know that Once the grant goes away, those people may go away as well. You know, a lot of the technology that we were hoping for was covered with the prior two grants, but it could be additional technology. You know, we're still kind of evaluating that. We just we just got finished with Esser 2, and we haven't thought a whole lot about Esser 3.
We'll be talking to the principals too, Mr. Fogel. Like, for example, we have a grant that pays for counselors at two of our schools that never have them. We have one school that doesn't. So some of those social and emotional supports, there are things like that people have expressed some need for over time. And so now that, like Mr. Schultz said, we got through a lot of we have money for technology and can get all that up to snuff, gives us a chance to really look and see how we can provide some of that support in our schools too. So we'll be looking forward to hearing about the wish lists that everybody probably already has. Yeah.
It's kind of like it
Yeah,
depends yourself out.
I just worry about being able to sustain, especially when we're talking about personnel.
So that's why we spent money on buses and technology and stuff out of the first two. And then with the 8 positions that Mr. Schultz talked about, certified positions that will come out of Esser 2, that gives us a little over half, almost $600,000 relief in M&O for next year. And it gives us a little time to tread water and see how much enrollment may or may not rebound. And then, as he explained, the 8 positions will carry next year in Esser 2. Fall well within our normal rates of attrition, so we could fold staff back in. So that one we're pretty careful about, just to make sure exactly what you're asking, is that we can preserve those jobs.
The other thing to remember, and John, you probably know the number, what was our loss in dollar-wise when it came to the distance learning? How much did we lose because of distance learning?
The first, from we adopted in July of 2020 till the December revision, was $432,700, because that was the percentage that weren't in the classroom, basically.
Right.
We're at home, and that's what it cost us, 400. Then I got it done in March and reran, and it was only 370,000 because that percentage had come down. But yeah, 430.
So, you know, let's just throw $400,000 that we lost because of distance learning, that hopefully we won't lose next year, because hopefully we won't be in distance learning.
Yeah.
So that's something, as long as we maintain the numbers that we have now, that's money that's going to come back with those kids remaining and just being in the classroom and not being online. So the other thing is, and I talked to, we're in part of a group called RASC, Rural Arizona School Coalition, and they have a lobbyist, and I spoke to the lobbyist this morning. There's a push as part of the budget process to actually take that 5% loss in ADM related to the distance learning. There's still a push to put that in the budget and give us 100% of that. So we could potentially grab that $300,000 to $400,000, let's say $400,000 this year, once the budget is done.
Trying to help create a little cushion
Right.
for ourselves.
So I think the future looks rosy, budget-wise, but really we have Esser 2 and Esser 3 to make sure that if it's not, that we can get through it okay.
Yeah, to get through it in the short term.
Correct.
Right.
But it gives us time to plan. Like I said, if you know, this year, and I was going to talk about this when we talked about the increases. This year, my goal was not to cut any positions, because we don't know what next year is going to look like. We already know people are coming back. So I wanted to keep the positions the same, and then a year from now, once things have stabilized and we know where we are, we can make a much more informed decision on the positions that we cut, if we need to. Hopefully we don't.
It's given us the luxury of buying a little bit of time.
Yeah, right.
And at the same time, and Mr. Schultz will talk about it later, provide some of those raises that we need. If ADM doesn't rebound, then of course, we're outside our staffing model and overstaffed going into next year, but it allows us to remain overstaffed if we don't rebound.
Right. You know, our kinder class right now is unusually small. And I think part of that is people just kept their kids home rather than send them to school, which that's a decision that each family needs to make on their own. Those kids, we may get all those kids.
Plus.
You know, and we have 6-year-olds that have never been to school. And, you know, we've talked about plans on how to address that. But look, that's a good problem to have. I want that problem. You know, I want those kids in school, and hopefully they've been doing things at home with their families and are ready to come back to school and okay. And if not, we want to put plans in place to address that. But we could, hopefully, you know, ideally, I would love if we were at 2,200 kids August 2nd or August whatever 4th when we start school. That would be awesome, and I think it's not out of reach. So.
And that is the number that we used in the July of 2020 budget adoption for the current year, 2,200 students.
Exactly.
And we've had a lot of new enrollments.
Right. And we're getting those, you know, I think we'll get those kids back. You know, there's probably a lot of kids in Primavera or other online programs that are just kind of right out the school year. And once August 4th comes, they'll be ours again. So, you know, your concern is very valid. It's something that we've discussed, something that concerns us as well. And we think we have enough time to address it. You know, if Esser hadn't happened, even, you know, if Esser 2 hadn't happened, it'd be a different story. So fortunately, we have the resources to be able to, you know, write this out at least a year, keep the positions and the staff that we have, not make any cuts, and kind of get back to normal, hopefully, and then we can adjust as necessary.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions on Esser? Adjacent ways. This is something that the governing board approves annually, $100,000 levy. I was truly questioning whether we would actually do one in July. We've always had kind of a plan in place to spend that money, and I didn't want to just collect it without having a plan in place. And so, a couple things. We have some money now that we're actually going to use to support the project at the farm. They need those buildings that are being built are 2,000 feet in, 2,000 feet from the street. The fire department is requiring a road that meets their specifications for a fire truck to ride on. They need a fire lane basically all the way back into that facility. Adjacent ways money can be used for a fire lane. Okay? The second thing is, and that's what the funds that we have right now. The second thing is, I was in a conversation actually related to that project. You know, we were talking to the town related to that project, to the building department, and they brought up the fact that there's going to be some improvements over on 1 East. And I say near future, 3 to 5 years, where they do some work in front of the community center, sidewalks, curbs and gutters and that kind of thing. And in talking with them, we'd like to extend that up to Mayhem in front of Territorial. And that would be a piggyback on their project. It's been working fantastic when we basically give the town the money and they do the work for us, or they hire their contractors to do the work for us. And it's worked fantastic. That's how we've done the expansion of the intersection at 2 North and 1 West. The recent bus lane project was done that way. The sidewalks, curbs, and gutters here at the high school were done that way. And so it would take a couple years of that $100,000 to save up to do that project. But that would be the target project with this money. So that's kind of, I'm gonna actually request that we do the adjacent ways levy in anticipation of that project. And once we have that number, then we can adjust it, and if we have extra, that's fine. Then we don't have to levy at that point. If we don't have extra, the decision could be made how to levy at that point. But that's kind of the future project that we'd like to aim towards and save up the adjacent ways money for. Okay. As a reminder, adjacent ways money can only be used for improvements next or on the property line of school district property. So a lot of times sidewalks, curbs, gutters, the intersection at 2 North and 1 West, those are all examples. Or on school property, bus lanes and fire lanes. So the road back here that's paved that goes to the Bates house and the baseball field that's paved, that was paved using adjacent ways money. The the bus lane behind Heritage and Del Rio, that was using adjacent ways money. And then of course the project at the farm, that will be using adjacent ways money. So, questions on adjacent ways?
Excellent idea.
So that's something, John will take care of the advertising and all that stuff, and it'll be part of the budget process in July. That's when that'll happen.
Another $100,000.
Yeah.
For next year.
Yep.
And was that still have to have the truth and taxation hearing?
Correct. There'll be the truth and taxation advertisement that goes in the paper. We'll have the hearing, all that stuff. So we have actually a couple hearings at July. We have the truth and taxation hearing, and we have the adopted budget hearing and all that stuff. A COVID update. You have attached to the last page is the benchmark that was, I updated it last week on Thursday. So right now, the benchmarks, and there's two, which is percent positivity and cases per 100,000, are in the moderate and low transmission levels. When you put those two together, it's a moderate transmission level, and the guidance with the moderate transmission level is full in-person instruction K-12, which is right where we're at right now. Okay? So the benchmarks are supporting our method of instruction as we are doing right now. Might anticipate things kind of hanging out, hopefully through the next 6 weeks that we have. Not really going down, not going up. It's probably, estimates have been happening the past 3 or 4 weeks, is the cases and percent positivity just kind of seem to be leveled, and that's okay. The number of cases in Chino and Paulden have been fairly low. We're talking, I think there was 3 over the weekend, and so it's usually, Paulden hasn't had one in a couple weeks. You're excited about that, I know. Chino, maybe 1 a day on average is what we're looking at. Okay, so fairly low. Since we've been all in person, we've had no staff members on campus while positive. Unfortunately, and it's happened like the last 3 weeks, we've had 6 students, 3 at the high school and 3 at the middle school, that have been on campus while positive with COVID. So they didn't know that they were positive at the time, they tested afterwards, but they were on campus, unfortunately, while they were positive. As a result, and these numbers are updated since I actually wrote this morning, we've had 85 students that we've had to quarantine because of those 6 students. Okay? And 1 teacher. So unfortunately, and this is what Catherine Berner does. This is her job is when she gets this call, she talks to the teachers, she gets seating charts, she figures out a circle of 6 feet around. Now, social distancing is only 3 feet in a school, but a close contact is 6 feet or closer for 15 minutes or longer in a 24-hour period. So she does that circle, finds out who was here, who was close to that kiddo. Those are the kids that have to be quarantined. Now, there was a question, what about if my kid was within 6 feet, but my kid was also close to somebody else? A close contact of a close contact we don't worry about. because that could go forever. It's just that one positive kid who was near them within 6 feet for 15 minutes or longer over a 24-hour period, okay? I know that you all got some emails from some concerned parents, very rightly so. Their kids are being quarantined for 14 days. We are using the Arizona Department of Health Services guidelines. The guidelines do say that there's shorter periods for quarantine. The problem is, in order to do that, you have to wear masks, which we're all doing, not a problem. And you have to stay 6 feet away from everybody. Not 3 feet anymore, you have to stay 6 feet away. And when we have everyone in person, our kids can't stay 6 feet away from each other. And that's really the concern.
In the classroom.
In the classroom.
So, I mean, I'm assuming, here's where I feel bad about this whole thing, is that we've taken enough from these kids, in my personal opinion. These kids miss their sports, they miss school, they miss their friends. There's no way around this.
So, there was a bill that just passed the legislature about liability for businesses and school districts, not just, it wasn't just on school districts, but it was about basically government entities and businesses in general. That gives us freedom of liability, so it basically shelters us from lawsuits. One of the keys to that is we are doing what we're supposed to be doing to prevent the spread of COVID in our schools. So if we allow, you know, we have this guidance that says 14 days from medical professionals, from the people, the epidemiologists at the Department of Health Services that are doing this, that say this is what you should be doing. If we don't follow that, my belief is that we're opening ourselves up to liability because we aren't following what the guidance says we should be doing. And think about this. So if your child was exposed by to another child that had COVID, and we allowed that child that had COVID on campus, as a parent, I'd be furious. I would be furious because you didn't do what you were supposed to do. My kid got exposed now, and potentially.
What about the other 8 that now have to quarantine because?
But what if one of them get it? That's the whole key is, or the whole point is, they're exposed, so they now have the potential to get COVID.
Yeah.
And if we allow them back and they have it, then they spread it to other people because we're not following what the guidance says.
But what if they, I mean, I know that there's a lot of us, what if they test? What if their tests come back negative? What if their parents signed some type of form that said, hey, my kid's been quarantined for 7 days. We've done this test and this test, and they came back negative. We would like to sign something that says we are not going to come back into the school. Like, is there something? Because, like I said, my biggest thing, I think I would be upset that my kid had to quarantine. One, because we're just getting back to school. They're just getting back in the swing of things. Kids have struggled, you know, and then having to miss 14 days of school. And then I look at sports-wise, you know, these kids have missed a whole year last year that are, you know, going to go on, or, you know, maybe this is their last year that they're ever going to play sports. Like, is there not anything that we can do?
There's lots of things we can do, but we're opening ourselves up to liability, is really what it said. You know, because if that kid, you know, and I am not an expert, I'm not a doctor, I'm not an epidemiologist, I'm relying on the guidance.
Right.
And the guidance says you can take a test and get to 7 days or 10 days, but you gotta stay 6 feet apart. That's the key here. We cannot keep our kids 6 feet apart from others when we're all in person.
Right.
That's, you know, if we could do that, that would not be a problem at all, and we can shorten it. It's the caveat, you gotta wear masks, which we do, you gotta do hand hygiene, which we do, all the other things we can tick off that we do,
Right.
except for keeping our kids further than 6 feet apart.
Yeah.
And that's the difficulty. Any other questions on the COVID update? Budget update. So I spoke with our lobbyists this morning. The budget they anticipate, it's not going to be done until probably the middle of June, which makes it tough On John, it means that even, we have to take a kind of a wild guess, and then we're gonna do a December revision, if not earlier, once we figure out what's going on. But we will not, we know what the minimums are gonna be, and that's what we're basing on, but we know what the inflation factor is going to be. We know at a minimum, what our new dollar amount per ADM, weighted ADM is gonna be. But there could be additional monies that could come if they do the distance learning at 100% and things like that. The state is also sitting on a fairly large pot of money, because tax revenues have been better than they anticipated. So in addition to tax cuts that they're likely going to give, there may be some additional money going towards stuff. But we just don't know, and we won't know probably for at least another 4 to 6 weeks.
John, quick question.
Or longer.
We had a great presentation on the capital funding lawsuit
Yes.
last month. Any word out of Phoenix that the legislature may be willing to slice more money in order to minimize that potential of that suit going to court?
There's nothing that's been public that we know of.
Okay, so
Yeah.
if it's happening, it's too quiet still.
It's behind the scenes, and yeah, if that is happening.
I don't know, it just seems to me, and then I'm trying to be logical, which is obviously stupid, being a legislature. That would be the smartest thing they could possibly do.
Right.
Is to show, with all that extra, rainy day money, I'm just speaking for me, but it just seems like that would be clearly the smartest thing for them to do to get beyond this lawsuit.
Now, some of the things that they're talking about, and this is kind of to Mike's point earlier, they're not just one-offs. So it's something that has to be put in place it would be like an inflation funding factor on capital, which capital has been the same amount for, do you know how long, John?
I think it's been 3 years frozen at that level.
Yeah. So where the thing is, for charter schools, it isn't adjusted by inflation. So it's just public schools, public districts, charters are public schools, but just district schools that have it frozen, where charter schools have it tied to inflation. So it'd be like having that tied to inflation. There's maybe some annual money, what we used to call the building renewal grant. So annual money to help us fix our facilities. New carpeting when we need it. A new air conditioner if we need it, things like that. So some of it is long-term money that needs to be sustained. And so that's I think part of the concern is not just throwing it, they have money now, they can throw now money at it, but it's how do you address it if it's supposed to be sustainable? Yeah.
Which politicians can do, because that's somebody else's problem down the road. I didn't say
Well,
that.
and I could make it somebody else's problem down the road for the district too. I don't want to do that. We have to have an exit strategy Esser's not going to last forever. And we need to have an exit strategy so we don't leave the district in the lurch. The state, there's several things that they're asking for, so we'll see. I don't know. But again, we won't know till potentially beginning of June, middle of June, what the actual budget is. Want to recognize our staff members of the month. At Territorial, our teacher was Madison Fennell. Our classified was Amber Leeson. At Del Rio, our teacher was Christina Ballard. Our classified was Greg Rudder, who's actually he's the day porter that we hired using COVID money. So it's good to see him. He's actually doing a really good work at Del Rio. Heritage, we have our EDP team of our teacher, Al Barragan, and our classified, Casey Jones-Overs. EDP is our emotionally special ed kids. At the high school, we have teacher Cindy Pierce and our health aide Penny Fetters. And our district is not an employee, but he serves us in really good ways. It's our partnership with the town. The Jeff Pizzi, who's our school resource officer, does a fantastic job, and we wanted to recognize what he does as part of our staff. We also want to thank Donna Webb of Jed's Sandwich Shop for her support of the staff members of the month. She does a fantastic job. Gives them a little treat and a little gift card to go and get a sandwich at a later date, so she does a good job. Lastly, I reached out to you individually about changing the June board meeting date. Mr. Fogel was gone the original day and the new day, so he was gonna miss whatever day we picked. And then 3 of you said that you could be there, so I'd like to change it to Wednesday, June 9th, if possible. If that's a concern, let Karen know, otherwise we're gonna go with that day. And then hopefully, Mr. Livingston, that's enough time to get that, the preliminary budget out. And then we started to do a calendar of events, since there's things that are gonna be happening in the district that you may want to attend. Again, we just changed the June governing board meeting from the 14th to the 9th. But please put on your calendars graduation on May 26th, 7 o'clock at the Findlay Toyota Center. Also that day at 2 o'clock, we'll be having our district recognition of staff, which is something that we used to have an ice cream social. I think we're talking about ice cream bars or ice cream sandwiches, something single serve this time. And then that is also our last day of school. We have our May governing board meeting on the 10th. A couple other things in July that in August that you may want to be part of, or that we ask that you be part of. We have the new teacher breakfast on July 22. An opportunity for you to meet our new staff members and to have an awesome breakfast cooked in what I think is the best commercial kitchen in Chino Valley. Another CTE purchase, that's a fantastic kitchen at the high school. On August 2nd, we have the all-staff breakfast and kickoff. We're doing it a little bit, meant to do it a little bit different last year, just COVID made everything different. In the past, we've had like the individual classes. We're actually doing that as a Google Classroom and asking staff to do it at a different time. So they have a Google Classroom videos, some quizzes that they take, and everything else. This is more of there'll be a kind of a rah-rah breakfast. You'll get your picture taken. There'll be some vendors. And then we'll pass out the t-shirts. We'll take the t-shirt picture. And also we're hoping to have a speaker come and, kind of kick off the year with hopefully an inspirational speaker and someone that can keep people's attention, that kind of thing. So it's not going to be all day. It should be just breakfast and maybe 2 or 3 hours after breakfast. Okay? And then school starts on August 4th. It's weird that we're planning for that already. We're doing a beginning of the year schedule and all kinds of training taking place and things like that. Any questions for me?
How is cleanup at Heritage going?
It's going. I think anywhere from 1 foot to 3 feet of drywall off the wall. When I talked to Julie today, they had the fans still trying to dry things out. There was, for those that don't know, a supply line to a water heater broke over the weekend, and they had water in the entire front office, all the way to the gym at Heritage, except for the principal's office and the assistant principal's office. Those are dry, but they have to basically, the water shot a hole through the wall because it was just basically ran on, was squirting on the wall all weekend. We don't know when exactly it happened because we discovered it on a Monday morning. And so shot a hole in the wall. Like I said, anywhere from 1 to 3 feet of water, of saturated drywall. They had to do asbestos testing, and in order to start work, they started the work. Things still need to dry out, and they have to repatch, and so it's very, very a bad situation. Covered by insurance. We have a $1,000 deductible that we'll pay, but it will be covered by insurance, and it's unfortunate. We're managing, or they're managing. Any other questions?
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Schulger. Report. Item 6E E1, financial reports. Mr. Livingston, please.
Yes, so there's about three things I'd like to just touch on briefly with this report. So, look at the first page, you see the encumbrances there, maintenance and operations energy project account. And you see those encumbrances are 5.5 million. We know that those are pretty high. Those are obligations that we signed on for, either with a purchase order, to purchase the goods and services, or with a salary. We know those are higher than they need to be. We have been closing those. And we know that in reality, they're closer to about 4.7, 4.8 million, but we're not gonna close them in April until we're sure everything is paid for and received. But if we drop that from 5.5 million to 5.3 million, and then you follow it over to the percent balance, and you see that negative 0.99, that climbs up to a positive 0.37. So it kind of comes down to the way you want data, and I don't want to ever make data say things that aren't obvious. So the obvious fact is right now, if we just look at all our encumbrances in that fund, they're 5.5 million at the end of March. So that's where they were, and I know they're 400,000 to 500,000 high. Mr. Scholes mentioned that we had that education stabilization grant, and that replaced a lot of M&O salaries, so to speak, and that brought our M&O cash and brought our expenses about 620,000 from March of 2020 to March of 2021, less in 2021. So that really helped. But the encumbrances, if it's encumbered, we're just not going to start closing those down, if you follow me. So if you're really, Rebecca, I've met with her 3 or 4 times, and she gave us her keys last Thursday and said, you know, call me if you need me, but please don't call me. So just going through this, you know, I would rather let you know that the negative 0.99% there is what the numbers show, but they're overinflated for encumbrances. So we do have a better cash situation than that. Any questions on that first page? And then hopefully, Karen, did they have this page in front of them, this revised?
Yes, they
cash
do.
funds?
Yes.
And I made an error on there for sure. And it's a number 1. We talked about the error with just 1 digit. Well, this was actually the number 1. And if you look on the one I gave you in the book, it's in Fund 515. And this is just a cash fund. 515, the one I gave you first, I just put an extra 1 in. You see that expenditure, 1,515,000? That's the one I gave you, that's our Civic Center fund. Oops, sorry, got an extra 1 in there. If you look at the one Karen gave you today, the expenditures were 15,875, not 1,515,000. So you take the 1 out, all of a sudden then the cash goes to 707,000, and sorry, I just, instead of 579 negative, it's 707 positive, which is the real deal for the end of March. And again, I apologize for that. I did get formatting these so you can read them a little bit easier, these numbers on this sheet, but those are cash funds that are limited by cash. The other funds we talked about in our big operating budget are really budget funds. Cash tends to drag on those. And we just need to make sure at year end that all the cash is receipted before we close the year. Any questions on the cash fund balances then? The revised one is the one that you just received today. And I apologize for not catching that number 1 in there.
Questions? No questions?
Oh. We've had all the questions answered.
Okay, all right.
Then we have just a couple more sheets to look at here. Then the cash flow analysis. That's the third part here, the 2-page, and it goes up to March. And just so you see how this works, I'm going to just give you a couple numbers. You look on the top of July, the 2,909,000. That's all funds, all cash, July 1st last summer. That 2.9. That's this page right here. It's the double, and it's the cash flow analysis. So last July, when we opened the doors, $2,909,521.03 to start with, all funds, cash. Then we bring in the revenues, we subtract the expenditures, and we see the difference then goes to the top of the next column to start August, 1,441,000. So just for your information, just so you can kind of see how these formulas work, it's just showing all cash available plus what we brought in minus what we spent. If you were to take the revenues here on the side, number 2, where it says state equalization assistance, you could do what I did, and then I'll show you where to find this number. That's 6.4 million for the year. If you want to write a 6.4, I put mine way over on the left margin where it says state equalization. You can put it wherever you want, but that's 6.4 million. That includes all the money that we get, but guess how much we got in July? You can look there, it's a zero. The state's got this little deal that they pay us late, but we have to backdate it to June. And that's their little trick. So there's nothing received in July. Even though they're supposed to do a 12th of it over time, they don't give us anything in July. It all has to go back to June. So then you drop down to 4.5 there, the levy fund 001 and the levy fund 610. That's 7.6 million. Numbers 4 and 5, just for your information. And then you say, well, so 6.4, 7.6, that's 14 million. Then if you want to see where that comes from, go way to the back of the big sheets that Karen stuck in your book here, to the very last page, just right here, page 25, and you see them listed right here. And it goes to the bottom there, it says qualifying levy, and you follow that across, that's our local taxes. There's the 7.6 million, right there. That's exactly what the state has for us. You come down here, you have equalization assistance, the levy is the local effort for property tax. The equalization is what they kick in. So that's your 6.4. And that's just where everything that I give you basically comes from either a state report or one of Cindy's grant awards. So that's where those numbers are found. And over time, we will collect the 7.6 million in property tax and the 6.4 million in state equalization. And I talked with the treasurer, in last year, 2019-2020, the district collected something like 99.6% of property tax due, an extremely high percentage. So if we've levied the amount, which was again 7.6 million, we'll come really close to that. That's really all I had for this report, just showing you how some of those things tie in. Any questions on that?
No.
It's good.
Good.
Thank you.
Item 6E2, Mr. Livingston, Student Activity Fund Report.
This again is, I think, really good news. You look at the far right of the balances, $112,689.89, almost $113,000. The thing we know, of course, is there hasn't been a lot of expenses. So you look at the expense column, $1,414, and there just hasn't been a lot of expenses for it. And this was again for the month ended March 31st. So we like to say we've got a fund balance, but we also like to say that students are able to use their money and have more activities, which we've heard that there's several scheduled between now and year end. Any questions on this?
Questions?
No.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 7A through O, consent agenda. Would I entertain a motion, please, unless there are questions, to approve the consent agenda as presented?
I will make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Item 8A, certified staff entry salary schedule, Mr. Scholl.
So annually, we try to increase the salary schedule. I'd love to do it more, but what happens is our new employees come in at a higher rate than our existing employees, which is something we try to avoid. So at a minute, this year, and what we've done the past couple of years, is increase the base by $1,000, and that just flows to all the other columns and rows. And so this year, again, we'd like to continue that and increase the base pay from, and this would be someone coming out of college with just a bachelor's degree and no experience teaching. They would make $33,000 plus 301 pay. So this is just their contracted amount. On top of that, there is 301 pay. And in some cases on the personnel report, you'll see signing bonuses and such for new employees. This is only used for new employees. It is not used, this is an entry salary schedule. This gets them a salary, and then we'll talk later, then we add flat amounts and percentages and things for increases, or they can actually go across if they get additional education. This is just to get the original salary, and then it can be adjusted annually in the process that we'll do later.
Any questions? Questions? No. Entertain a motion, please, to approve the 2020-21 certified staff entry salary schedule.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Annie? Second. Oh, Mike. Any more questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Item 8B, proposed 21-22 classified salary schedule.
Similar situation, what we've been doing with the classified salary schedule is increasing it for the minimum wage, actually more than the minimum wage. We did this in January, if you November or December, if you recall, I can't remember which month. There was an increase for the minimum wage that started January 1st. We're trying to get ahead of the game here and do all our increases starting July 1st, now that the minimum wage increases have settled down a little bit. And so we anticipate that the minimum wage last January 1st went up 15 cents. We increased our base pays by 25 cents, so we're getting ahead of the game. We think by adding another 25 cents to the base pays, there will still be well above what the minimum wage increase will be in January. At the same time, ultimately what I'd like to do, what was it, what prop was it, 208, 205, that increased the minimum wage initially. Before that all started, the minimum wage was $8.15. Our minimum wage in the district was $9 an hour. So we were well above 85 cents. Ultimately, over time, I'd like to get to a similar situation where we are well above what the state minimum wage is to attract better qualified, classified staff. That's the goal. It's going to take some time to get there, that's all.
Any questions? This is an action item. Appreciate a motion, please, to approve the 21-22 classified salary schedule.
I'll make a motion to approve the proposed 21-22 classified salary schedule.
Could I get a second? Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Thank you. Item 8C, administrative and classified directors contract renewals for FY 2021-22. Mr. Schultz.
Staff is requesting approval of the administrative and classified directors supervisors contract for next year. The salary amounts include a 3% increase and $1,000, and this is similar that we'll talk about with the certified staff. The total cost of the district will be just over or about $56,581. In addition, 7 administrators and 3 directors would continue to receive a $6,000 insurance stipend. 2 administrators would be grandfathered and receive paid family health coverage that's been for many, many years. That's been the case, and they are grandfathered in. And then 3 employees, the network administrator, district nurse, and assistant facilities director do not receive an additional insurance benefit. This is about, if I recall, about 4.2% increase on average for the directors. And that is below what the average increase for the classified and certified are.
Any questions? This is an action item. We'd appreciate a motion, please.
Go ahead. You got this. It's your turn.
I move to,
Someone's gonna be first each time, yeah.
I move that the administrative classified director's contract renewals for 21-22 be accepted as stated.
And I will second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Item 8D, the 21-22 contract renewals for certified staff therapists. Mr. Schultz.
So as we were talking, we are not cutting any positions. These increases for all positions, the administrative, the certified, and the classified are going to be covered. As we talked with covering some of the M&O expenses out of grants, at least initially, with the idea that we need to move back into M&O. But it was important to me to give our staff, to acknowledge our staff, the work that they've done over the past year, and to give an increase. There are neighboring districts that are not giving anything. This is an opportunity for us to acknowledge the work that our staff has done as a whole, and I thought that was important. So, Staff is recommending an increase of 1% and $1,600 for teachers, and then 3% and $1,000 for therapists, which is, you'll notice that's the same as the directors and administrators on purpose. So the therapists typically get a similar increase because their hourly rates, there's actually the second highest hourly rate in the district is a therapist. So that's just the kind of, their hourly rates are in line with the administrators, so that we give them the same raise as administrators. So this equates to an average increase of 4.4% for teachers and 4.2% for therapists. The cost would be $281,000. That's out of M&O and grants, so grants cover some of that. And we're trying to figure out, our grants aren't going up, and we're trying to figure out how we can absorb, maybe instead of just that raise, it could be a position that we absorb into M&O to help out with some of that. So our grants are actually in some cases going down, and so we need to make some hard decisions on how we accommodate that. But this is the total for both M&O and grants.
Any questions? Entertain a motion, please.
President, I will so move. Just a comment. You know, we are not a wealthy district, and I'm really proud that our administration has been able to find within our budget resources the ability to continue to increase our staff salaries. So I'm really very happy to make a motion.
Before you make a motion, I need to add something. I apologize.
Oh, so much for the speech. Okay, I'm not going to.
I know.
Different speech then.
No. There is an addendum, basically. There's some changes since this was put into the agenda. There's been some changes, and there's one that says certified staff renewals right at the top here. What happened was we had 3 employees that need theirs revised because they increased their salary from the numbers that are in here because of education increases. So they submitted transcripts, and they're actually making more than they were prior.
So with a supplement?
Yeah, this is with the supplement, exactly.
Except.
You can use this as a supplement.
Except the first 3 on the remove.
Right.
Got everything to us.
Then the bottom where it's removed, the top 3 and the 5th one, we need to actually scratch out. They are on the list. We were going to remove them. They did what they needed to do to get back on the list, basically. And that happened late this afternoon. So
when we make the approval, we need to make it with the supplement?
with the supplement and the revisions to the supplement.
Yeah.
Just so you know, the bottom 2 on the remove are recent resignations. That's what those are. Okay. No one in this room is on that list, by the way, so you don't have to worry.
Did you still want to finish your speech, or
No,
are you going to rescind?
We were ready to make a motion, so I apologize.
No, that's all right. The moment is gone. But I will still make the motion to approve item 8D with the contract renewal figures, including the certified supplement. Let's see, and classified, the certified and classified supplements as contained in tonight's materials.
And the removal of the top 3 on the remove.
Yeah, well, I just, yeah.
The revised
revisions.
Okay.
Thank you.
Could I get a second?
apologize to
Could I get a second, please? All in favor? Aye. Thank you.
You okay?
Yeah, good.
Okay.
Okay.
It's okay. We have some people that would have been a little bit unhappy if that didn't happen, so I apologize.
I sent you the email with the names.
Item 8E, 2021-22, classified hourly rate increase, Mr. Schultz.
So similar, we are giving an increase, and this, again, we typically have been giving increases in January. This is going to be in lieu of that, so this is going to be a one-time increase. So when the minimum wage increases in January 1, we've already taken care of it.
This is still low.
Yeah. Okay. There is a addendum. No changes to the addendum. We had a couple, one that we inadvertently left off and one that was a late add, and then we had some last-minute resignations, so that's what's going on. The removes are last-minute resignations. Staff is recommending a salary increase of 1.5% and a 50 cent per hour increase for classified staff that have been with the district prior to January 1st of 2021. That is in policy, that you get raises if you've been here basically last calendar year. Classified staff that joined the district later than January 1 will receive a 25% hour increase, which is basically to compensate for the minimum wage increase. These amounts will ensure that existing employees will make the same or more than new employees with similar experience and education. In addition, this will more than cover the anticipated minimum wage increase in January 2022, average increase of 4.7%. The impact of the district budget will be combined about $160,000 with M&O and grants.
So with this approval, I just want to make sure this is right, because this is not the way we've done it before, these approvals. So on the actual requested, are we doing what it says and then with the addendum?
Including the addendum.
Yes.
Okay.
Correct.
They're not here. Okay, I'm gonna make them.
I have a question though
Oh,
first.
go ahead.
Yeah. If this is in order now. I was wondering, is there a way that, I don't know, how do you think our district compares to other districts, especially in northern Arizona when it comes to the hourly rate for bus drivers?
I don't know the answer to that, and a couple things. We give health insurance for
Correct.
if you're over 20 hours, where normal health insurance is over 30. And so that's an additional compensation that is not part of the hourly rate. I can tell you that we get, it seems like our biggest, we lose very few bus drivers to other districts, and we tend to gain bus drivers to our district.
It seems like we're always looking for bus drivers.
Everyone's always looking for
But I
bus
mean, why
drivers.
is
That's-
that? But why are they
Nobody
leaving?
wants
Well,
to
why do
be
they
one.
leave? Yeah.
I just don't think anybody, I don't want to be a bus driver.
I'd be curious to know if you could.
Right. Part of it
check
is,
that out.
and you and I had talked a little bit about this. Part of it is a split shift.
Yeah.
Part of it is they're only 20 to 24 hours a week. They are at times managing 70 kids with their back to them on the bus, looking at a mirror while they're driving, and making sure the kids are wearing masks and making sure kids are sitting down and not throwing stuff out the window. And so it can be a very demanding job. And so it's, part of it is the hour. If we had 40-hour bus drivers, it'd probably be easier to get bus drivers.
And the age, we have a lot of folk who retired a little bit younger, drive bus for us for a few years, and then they're at sort of a typical retirement age. That's part of it too. A lot of our drivers, this is sort of a second or third career.
And they may be driving for the insurance.
Yep, just
before they're 65.
Until they're 65.
Yeah. It'd
So-
be interesting to know though.
Right.
Yeah.
The need for bus drivers is not unique to Chino Valley.
Okay.
The comparison with salaries, I can get back to you, but I don't have that.
No, I just wonder, what does it take to retain them and not have that ongoing problem about looking for?
Age is the
At least-
biggest thing.
Is the biggest thing?
Yeah, if you
Right.
look at the age of our bus drivers, it's significantly higher than other classifications.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, Annie, you were gonna make
Okay.
a motion.
I'm going to make a motion for the approval of the non-exempt classified salary increases beginning July 1st, 2021 with the addendum.
Okay.
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
And as always, there is an addendum to the personnel report. So we have 6 new certified, 5 new classified, 4 new classified subs, 13 resignations, and that's not unusual. This is just resignation time, resignation season. I expect some in May as well, because we're basically forcing people's hands by offering contracts and work agreements. They either need to sign them or they're not out of a job, so they just resign a lot of times. We have 1 retirement, 7 certified changes, 5 classified changes, 1 extra duty, and 1 timesheet
One
employee.
huge retirement.
Yes,
Because how long has she been in the district for?
we're talking Lee, I believe. Is that who you're talking about?
Yeah.
25.
That's pretty awesome. I'm really
Yeah.
sad to see her go.
Yeah. She's happy to be going, I can tell you.
I'm sure.
She will be missed. But a great kindergarten teacher and a great fifth grade teacher. She's done both sides of the elementary scale for the most part. Okay.
Any questions? This is another action item. Don't everybody talk at once?
Okay, I'll make a motion to the approval of the personnel report with supplement.
Yes. Second?
Second.
Thank you. Any more discussion? All in favor? Aye. Thank you. Item 9A, District Expenditure Budget Revision Number 2. Mr. Lee?
Great, so that's our large legal size report that I mentioned briefly back in the hearing. And just a couple things I could clarify then. If we look at page 1 there, we see that the salaries, average teacher salaries for this year and last year are hovering right around 49,000. And if we back up to page 10 in there, we see in 2018, that's the 17-18 year, that's 3 years ago, they were hovering right around 45,000, so almost a $4,000 increase over that time period. So 17, 18, 18, 19, 20, and then it's a three-year stall. So $1,300 a year increase, and that's the 16%. If you look on page 10 there, back at the summary, 16% increase. That's a pretty good page to look at. Page 10, it's a summary of all our funds, and there is a place on the top there before everyone may leave. We'd really like, no, you're the president of this book, is that right? It's Cindy.
Oh, Cindy's the president.
Okay, so will someone sign for her tonight on page 10, the president of the governing board on page 10?
I've got that. I have that.
Okay. And then, of course, everyone's on in front of them. Okay. Any questions that I could discuss? I kind of looked at the Budget 25 report, and I can bring that to you every quarter, that Budget 25 report, or I can bring it to you every month, but I can just do it when we revise. I like you to know where we're at with our funds.
Yeah, I like this. I like the summary page too. Yeah. Okay.
And just one I'd like to look at, we have talked about Prop 301, if you look at page 3, and that's again the big legal budget there. The lower right corner, you see that $1,163,000, and that is slightly down from last year. FY20, $1,228,000, $1,163,000. So our overall allocation was slightly less. It was 65,000 less this year than last year. And all these factors, beginning cash, ending cash, budget allocation, but that is one thing that has been renewed by the legislature, so it's not going away.
Well, and actually Prop 301 is going to have some significant changes that we'll bring to you. There was, it shouldn't really be called Prop 301 anymore because the proposition sunsetted. It's the Classroom Site Fund, and it is now a law rather than a proposition. So it is not subject to the, it can be changed by the legislature, and so they have. There used to be 3 buckets. If you remember, there was a 011, 012, and 013, with one of those being teacher compensation. One was kind of the at-large, you can kind of spend on anything, and then 40% was the performance pay. They're actually combining all those into one bucket, expanding what you can spend it on a little bit. So we'll have to be coming to the board, kind of explaining that at some point, probably over the summer, on how we are going to propose. The required changes to this is going to require some kind of approval by the board.
So we're going to have to change our list of performance pay reviews?
Potentially, because there is no bucket of just performance pay anymore.
Right.
After this fiscal year.
So that's what you're saying?
Yeah.
We're going to have to relook at how we allocate those funds?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And actually, I think there's going to be a significant bump next year with some one-time money in Prop 301 that is because of like a cash overage, I think. It's really a budget account that acts like a cash account. So they have extra cash, so they have to change the budget for next year. But it's only a one-time allocation, so there may be a significant increase just next year.
So stand by, page 3 will change. Now there's 3 funds, 011, 012, 013, and I've heard about that. I haven't seen the new worksheets for next year, but when they come out, it may not be 011, 012, 013.
That's all I have unless there's any more.
Questions, anybody? No questions. Okay, this is an action item.
Make the approval of the FY 2021 district expenditure budget revision number 2.
Okay, second.
Seconded.
Further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Thank you. Item 10A, summer school. Ms. Daniels.
Okie dokie. So this year, the district is going to offer summer school at all 4 locations. Typically, we've been having summer school just at the high school, although we offer it for Heritage and the high school students. In some years past, we've had some summer programming at Territorial or Del Rio. It was contingent on some grant funding, needs of the students, things like that, but it wasn't always offered because we don't always have a lot of attendance. However, this year, as you heard earlier, Esser 3 requires that 20% of our award be spent on learning loss. We are projecting that that 20% could be as much as $780,000 over the 3 years. So one of the ways that we're going to address learning loss right off the bat is by offering summer school on all 4 campuses. At each campus, we will employ a summer school administrator. In the case of all of our campuses but 1, so 3 of them are all folk, some of whom never want to be an administrator, but they're like the idea of doing this for summer. A couple, 1 campus, we have 2 employees sharing it. One of them may have administrator aspirations some days, so he gets to practice a little during summer school, things like that. So we have a summer school administrator. We have certified teachers that we'll employ on each campus based on the enrollment, paraprofessionals, and then from the district level, we have an English language learning program coordinator, because as you have heard throughout the time with our pandemic, our families who chose to keep their students at home for distance learning were disproportionately from Spanish-speaking families, so we know that there's a huge need to address for some students who may not have spoken English in person for over a year, maybe just spoken English in, over the technology. We also will need a nurse, because if we're going to have a lot of kids on a lot of campuses, that means we need a nurse. And of course, we're going to need bus drivers. So, I think about a month ago, Mr. Scholl introduced the summer school rate of pay for those. You approved that. The terms of the employment will be June 1 to 30 for the employees, and June 2 through 29 for the students. That gives the teachers a day to get all set up and going, and then a day at the end to, wrap it all up. The administrators are actually working more hours than that. So right now we've anticipated, and there's a budget on the back of your page with the rates you can see, and the total amount for this first summer, you can see we'll put a bit of a dent in that $780,000, not half though. And so if you'll turn your paper over, you can see the proposed rates for each of the positions. The coordinators, these are rates that are significantly higher than we normally pay our staff. Normally, our certified staff receives $25 an hour for training or for teaching. The summer school coordinator, kind of that quasi-administrator role on each campus, that's $45 an hour. We're asking for $35 an hour for the teachers and $20 an hour for the aide, the paraprofessionals. So you just approved the classified pay for next year, so you could sort of glance through and see what people typically make. So for a lot of our classified folk, we really felt like we needed to pump it up. And the other reason is, we have staff who get jobs in the summer typically that would be for June and July. Summer school's only for June. We realized that could prevent them from getting jobs just for a month in July, so we felt like we needed to honor that commitment they were willing to make to our students. So you can see all the breakdown here on that budget sheet. So of course we're asking for approval of our summer school budget amount, and the quantity of, the types of positions. But here with us this evening are the summer school administrators from 3 of the 4 campuses, and then Brandy will talk to you a little bit about what her campus is gonna do. I told them they get 3 minutes each, because some people talk more than others. And you can guess who the practice administrators are gonna be. But I'll tell you what, let's start with Brandy. Why don't you tell us what summer is going to look like at Tech and about where enrollment is?
You want me to come up there or stay back here?
Oh,
Please, because we want
because
you
they
on the
need to
mic.
be able to hear you on the microphone.
Okay, so the other person that we're sharing it, we're unique at Territorial, because Mrs. Myrick Imley, our instructional coach and dean of students, has little ones at home, so her to commit the whole month of June. But she's phenomenal, so I said, okay, we'll share it. We'll just work it out. So at Territorial, what we're doing, it's a little bit different because they're little. Right now, as of when I left the office, we have 160 kids enrolled already.
It's about a third of her student population.
And so we're running it as kind of a camp because they are so little. We don't want it to be a punishment. We want it to be exciting for the kids. We want it to be exciting for the parents, and the kids are getting excited about it. And so we're calling it Cub Camp. We're doing interventions in the morning or enrichment. Some of our kids that are coming, they don't need to come to summer school for intervention, but we're doing lit studies with them and doing things to enhance where they're at and kind of keep pushing them forward. The ones that need intervention are, we're gonna break the school up. It's not gonna be kindergarten, first and second. If they need phonics, first sound fluency. Somebody's gonna be teaching first sound fluency and they're gonna rotate between those classes. So it's kind of center-based, but it's school-based for all of them, whatever they need. And we're gonna rotate through all of those in the morning. The majority of our kids are all day, so we're going to do, afternoon is our enrichment time where we get to do a lot of that STEAM activities. We're doing, we have some teachers that are gonna teach like theater and do little mini plays based on the whatever they want to work on. We have a gardening group. We have just different activities that the kids can do. We're going to do PE, art, music, different things that they haven't had in the school year that we can enrich the summer and make it a fun learning experience for them. So we have, right now I have 10 teachers and 7 parapros signed up to teach it. And they're super excited. They're meeting all the time and working on it. And that's kind of what ours is going to look like. So we're breaking it down. It's not just ELA, so it's not just the reading and writing. We're also going to be doing math. Some of our kids just need some math fluency practice. Some need other issues. Whatever they need, we're going to kind of look at it once the enrollment closes. What do they need? And then break it off into that, and so we can get the most bang for our buck.
May 2, that's when it closes.
Yes, not too many more. We have a couple more weeks, and then it'll close.
May
and then
2.
Yeah. And so we're just hoping we have enough staff to teach all the kids that are coming.
That's
so.
awesome.
But they're excited. The kids are excited. Yes.
Yeah. Brandy, quick question. Are you doing anything special for the ELL kids this summer?
So we're doing the same thing. We're going to embed them right now to whatever they need. We'll put those in the groups wherever they're at.
Because you know, we were talking earlier, they probably lost more than the average kid just because the whole fluency training has been lost for this year. Those that had to stay home. So that's why I was wondering if there's anything special that you'll be able to do.
A lot of speaking
and putting them in. And that's where the plays are coming in. We have one group that wants to do puppets, or one teacher who wants to do puppets. That's huge with the ELL students, so that they have that confidence behind them. So lots of different fun activities that they don't know that they're learning. It's not just a kill and drill. We want it to be fun and enticing to have them there. One parent said, I'm giving up summer for my kids. That doesn't seem fair. And I said, well, not really. This is what we're doing. They're like, never mind, we're coming. So. I have a question. No cost for the students. Is this free for, and are you doing 4 days a week? 4 days a week. What's the time? I knew you were going to ask me that.
7:30 to 3:30?
7:30 to 3:30, I think, because we're running so if somebody wants to just do morning, and then the transportation, they can go home. Or they can just do afternoon and go home. Or they can do all day.
And the buses will run
all
day.
between. So
and
food, all day. Everything else is still going.
Free food, the whole bit.
It'll be served breakfast, a lunch.
And then, we have,
Yeah.
we're in ours, we're kind of embedding some snacks into ours, because our little ones are right hungry, so, but they're fun snacks, then they just have to sing.
That's cool. Sounds
So,
good.
it's a lot of fun. Any other questions?
Thanks, Wendy.
Okay.
Miss Cassie Krauser from Del Rio.
Over 2 minutes.
I agree. So at Del Rio, we are, it's similar setup kind of to territorial since we're 3rd through 5th. So we have right now, as of today, 78 enrolled. 26 are just mornings and then 56 are all dayers. I do have a few that just want the PM option as well. So they would only come from lunch until the end. We are going to focus on reading, writing, and math, and as well as include some enrichment. I have some people doing PE or science experiments, some arts, and really dive into, especially the science standards, since they just recently changed to explore that area in summer school as well. We have 6 teachers already committed and 3 paras committed to teaching those, and we'll be grouping them by their skill levels as well. So really honing in on what those kiddos need at the time.
Okay. Any questions? Sounds good.
Miss
Thank you.
Leanne. See all the practice they're getting? They get to come and talk here. They get to practice administrators. Leanne never wants to be one.
Not at this time, no. I'm Leanne Mullard, and I will be coordinating summer school at Heritage. We are offering a similar vision of not wanting this to be a punishment. Not everybody who's signed up has failed a class, very few in fact, but it's here really to target specific skills that are going to benefit students to be ready for school next year, and that's kind of our vision and our mission. Is the targeted instruction in both math and language arts, and then using social studies, science, PE, and art as our enrichment. All students, whether they sign up for half a day or a full day, would get at least one enrichment class, social studies, science, math, and language arts. So they're covering the gamut, just exploring their options and their building their confidence really for next year, because many of them struggle to go through online, and we're not happy about it.
And they're staying on the campus where they attended school this year.
Correct.
So.
Okay, so if you graduated 8th grade, you're not going to the you're not going to high school, you're
They would
staying
still
in the
attend.
Correct.
And they'll get letter grades for all their work then, too.
They'll
be
get
graded.
Yeah, they'll be graded.
Yeah,
Yep.
and they get credit. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, the only school that really credit matters is the high school.
Yeah.
So it's, these are really more skill improvements. And so, they'll get some assessment.
For K-8.
For K-8.
Yeah.
An assessment to say how your kid did, but it's not where they're getting, it's not like a class where they get a credit. That is at the high school, but not K-8.
They're not making up the grade that they missed in high school.
Nope, we're just trying to catch them up for any learning loss, like we talked about earlier, that they might have experienced because of COVID.
And while Leanne's still standing here, I'll let Brandy pipe in and Cassie pipe in. Leanne, the Chino Valley Education Foundation has committed money for summer school incentives that are attendance-based. So at each campus, that's going to look a little bit different, but there will be drawings, whether it's every day, once a week, and at the end for the kids who had perfect attendance. So Leanne, say a couple things that Heritage will be part of the incentives from the foundation for summer school.
We're going to do drawings every week, so we've requested gift cards to various places around Chino Valley or Amazon, if they are so inclined. And then for our end of anybody who attends all 16 days with perfect attendance would be in the drawing for either some wireless earbuds or a Kindle.
Or bike with a helmet or a scooter for the lower level kids as well.
Brandy?
Summer camp in a box. It's a Kiwi. There's a subscription to more science activities that can come mailed to their home is one of them. We said some fun swag stuff, t-shirts, hats, bracelets, water bottles, something like that to get them excited about it. So to go with our little camp.
And the foundation would like to see them offering movie passes.
And we called today, movie is not working with us right this minute, but that is
So,
something
yep.
to do the summer
Pool
movie
passes.
program.
So pool, movie, fun stuff. I can tell you right now, they're gonna get an email from me in about a week that says you didn't ask for enough. So, anyway, yeah, Brandy asked for a lot, but it didn't add up too much.
But they're just little.
So Miles and Mark, M&M, yep, M&Ms.
We're gonna have them go to the farm and shovel, that's what they're saying.
Good job, I love it. Run a lap or shovel manure, yeah, great.
So the high school is gonna be a little bit different, obviously it's more credit recovery. Right now, we only have 45, but we've been focusing on the AZ Merit 2 testing, which is the next 3 days. And so the counselors have been really busy with that. So, and I think once it gets close, because there could be some kids failing right now, or not failing, but we have, what, 6 weeks left of the school year, so when it gets down and they realize, oh no, I'm messing up, they need to get their credit recovery. There's 8 current teachers, 2 English, 2 math, 1 science, 1 resource, and then 2 online credit recovery classes through Ingenuity. And yeah, we're
two sections, morning and afternoon, and we have a few students signed up for, actually quite a few signed up for both morning and afternoon classes.
And I'm trying to warm them up to the idea of more incentive than a credit. Kind of gives them the rub, but we're working on it.
Yes. But yeah, that's it.
And if you recall that they've been doing a great job with their PASS, what they call their PASS program, which is really trying to intervene before, during the year. And if you want to just 2 seconds.
So what we did with the seniors is we had the 2 days, and 98% of those students took care of business. We have a few we're still working on. And that's where the opportunity for our juniors, freshmen through juniors is that they can now come to summer school and recoup that credit that they need. Because most kids, it's not, they didn't fail all 6 classes. It's typically a couple of the classes. So they will have an opportunity to through summer school. And we'll work with kids if they need to continue to be online to do that credit recovery. And that's why I have 2 teachers scheduled to do that part of it, so they keep track of it, because we have a very short period of time. And in the classroom, it's easy to pace it and know what the kids need to do, but when the kids are on their own, so I'm going to need some teachers, and one's a counselor and one is a teacher that will be contacting those kids and saying, you did nothing today, because this has to be done by the 29th. But our PASS program for our promoting at-risk senior students, or at-risk senior success, was very successful. And like I said, we still have a couple kids that are working it out, and we're working with them, but like I said, and we will give the students incentives with, so we'll be making our list to be there, because we want them there every day, because at the high school, because it's credit recovery, if they miss more than 2 days, they're done. And that's why it's really important that we have Miles and Mark here, because their #1 job is to be checking attendance every morning and afternoon and calling parents and saying your student did not show up. So they'll be really busy with that.
So what we're asking for approval-wise is really the rates for the positions and the types of positions, because we estimated the number of people we thought we would need. It will be based on enrollment, and we may have overestimated some teacher count at some campuses, may have underestimated another. You can see that amount of money we have to spend on learning loss far exceeds what we're anticipating spending this summer. So it's those rates and the types of positions and the dates that we're most interested in having your approval for this evening.
Does anybody have any questions? No. Okay, we'd like a motion, please.
I'll make a motion of the approval of proposed summer school hourly rates and positions.
And a second.
Second.
And any more discussion? All in favor? Aye. Thank you. Thank you, good job, guys. Item 11A, second reading of revised policies. Mr. Schultz.
So these were presented to you at the last meeting. There was 2. One was staff telecommuting, which is a generic policy from the ASBA. The other was a change in our leave bank, where people opt into the leave bank. You would ask for a 1-pager, it's actually a 2-pager that we'll hand out to staff. There's some examples on there. For example, if someone wanted to go on paternity or maternity leave, they need 20 days. If they're in this program, which would be donating 1 or 2 days at the beginning of the year, of those 20 days of leave, they could only have to use 10 of their own and get 10 out of the leave bank. And so that's kind of what the purpose of this is. In the past, the leave bank has only been for those that are out of leave. We want to encourage people to keep their leave, be part of this program, and preserve it a little bit. Also, it was based on people volunteering to give leave, and it wasn't necessarily an equitable process. And there was some employees that weren't eligible because of their position to be part of this. And so when you donate your leave, whether 1 or 2 days, it's not days you're donating, it's the monetary value of your leave. So if I were to donate something, it would be, I would donate my hourly rate, where a aide would donate their hourly rate, so that between the two of us, me putting in gives a lot more money to the pot, but if I had to take advantage of it, I'd get a lot more out, and hopefully no one ever has to utilize this. You have to be eligible for a Family Medical Leave Act. For yourself, not for others. So you have to have a serious illness in order to take advantage of this, or paternity or maternity leave. So those are the qualifiers in order to be part of this.
And John, you say there was a wonderful 12 pages of explanation from last month, and now down to 2 pages?
Down to 2 pages, yes. Yes. Yes.
Any questions? Nope.
So this is the second reading, so it will need to be voted on.
Yes.
No, this month.
This one.
Oh, okay.
It's the second reading, so that we...
Yeah.
Peter, do you want to make a motion?
I'll be very happy to make it.
Excellent.
I don't know how many of you actually read all 10 of those pages, but I deal with ordinances all my life, and that's among the top of the bottom. So no, it's down to the draft now, and so I'll be very happy to make the motion to, what are we going to call this? The
Or you can just read the motion.
If you read where it says action request.
The second, of the above policy. I was going to try to get more specific.
You're welcome to. It's your motion.
Okay, come on, if this is enough, that's all I'm going to say.
That should be sufficient.
Okay, then I just made that motion.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Nope. All in favor?
Aye.
This meeting is history. Adjourned.
Okay.
Good job, guys. Long.